Hello friends, this video on Quadrilaterals part 20 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So with this learning on the special parallelograms, let us again look at a few questions. Question number 1. State whether true or false. All rectangles are squares. So that is a false statement because the rectangles, they have all angles equal, but all of their sides are not equal. But in order to become a square, all the sides need to be equal. So all rectangles are not squares. All rhombuses are parallelograms. Yes, of course, because rhombus has all the properties that a parallelogram has. In fact, rhombus has a few special properties, but it satisfies all the properties of parallelogram. For example, a parallelogram wants that the opposite sides should be equal and parallel. So that's true for rhombus. It is just that in rhombus, not only the opposite sides are equal, all sides are equal. So that is like an additional thing, but it satisfies the properties of parallelogram. All squares are rhombuses and also rectangles. Now squares, they have all sides equal. So you pick up any square, that square will satisfy all the properties of a rhombus. Now a rhombus wants all the sides to be equal. A square has all sides equal. A rhombus wants all the properties of a parallelogram. The square satisfies that in a rhombus. Now you might say, but in a rhombus all angles are not equal. But rhombus never says that if the angles are equal, then it will not be a rhombus. That's not the case. In a rhombus, even if the angles are not equal, if the angles are also equal, then it will become a square. But if the angles are not equal, then it becomes a rhombus. So basically all squares are rhombus, but all rhombus are not squares. Similarly, all squares are rectangles, because square is again a special case of rectangle where all sides are equal. But again, all rectangles are not square. So these are certain things which you really need to think, analyze, and then understand. So I am just speaking. Just by listening to it, you might not be able to understand. So just try to analyze it yourself. List down the properties of rhombus, list down the properties of rectangles, list down the properties of square. You would see that a square would fit into the properties of rhombus and rectangles. But a rhombus would not fit into the properties of a square. For example, a square would want all the angles to be equal to 90 degrees. But a rhombus will not be able to satisfy that criteria. So all rhombuses will not be squares. Similarly, a square would want all the sides to be equal. A rectangle would not be able to satisfy that criteria. Therefore, all rectangles are not squares. All squares are not parallelograms. Now that is false because all squares are parallelograms. So if you look at any square, now a parallelogram wants the opposite sides to be parallel, a square satisfies that. Parallelogram wants opposite angles to be equal, square satisfies that. Parallelogram wants the adjacent angles to be supplementary, square satisfies that. So basically a square would satisfy all the properties of parallelograms. Therefore all squares are actually parallelograms. All kites are rhombuses. Now this is again a false statement. That's because when you look at a rhombus has all sides equal. But when you look at a kite, it has only adjacent sides equal. So when you look at a kite, this is how the kite looks like. So only the adjacent sides are equal. But in case of a rhombus, all sides are equal. So we can say that a rhombus is a kite. A rhombus can behave like a kite. But a kite is not a rhombus because a kite does not satisfy the property of rhombus. All rhombuses are kites. Exactly what I told you just now. So this would be true because a kite, what does a kite want? Kite wants the adjacent sides to be equal. Now for rhombuses, the adjacent sides are equal because here all sides are equal. So the adjacent sides are also equal. All parallelograms are trapeziums. Do you think that is true? All parallelograms are trapeziums? Think about it. A trapezium, what does it want? A trapezium wants at least one pair of side to be parallel. That means one pair of sides should be parallel. Now what about a parallelogram? A parallelogram, does it have one pair of side parallel? Of course it has. In fact, it has both pairs parallel. So we can say that all parallelograms are trapeziums. Yes. All squares are trapeziums. So do you think so that all squares are trapeziums? Now, in a way, we would say that yes, all squares are trapeziums, because again, the trapezium, what does it want? It wants only one pair of sides to be parallel, and one pair of sides are parallel in case of a square. So this would also be true. Question number 2. Identify all the quadrilaterals that have 4 sides of equal length. Thank you. Please visit examfear.com for free quality education. You can learn with a simple 4-step learning process wherein you can watch video lessons, you can ask your questions, you can refer notes, and you can take a free online test. We have content for class 6 to 12 on physics, chemistry, mathematics, and biology along with practical videos. So please subscribe to our channel for daily updates. Thank you.